Alright, so we're going to talk about angle bisectors. So an angle bisector is a ray that divides an angle into two congruent angles. Basically, it cuts it right in half. It cuts an angle right in half. So when you cut something in half, you end up with two equal halves. So if BD, which is a ray, bisects ABC, then you can see from this picture, ABD and DBC, these guys, are half the measure of ABC, or the big angle. It cut it right in half. And the measure of angle ABC, on the flip side, is twice the measure of either of the smaller ones. So here you can see ray BD cutting angle ABC right in half, and you end up getting these two equal halves of angles, just like if you were thinking of walking halfway to school, stopping somewhere, and then continuing to walk to school. They'd be two equal distances. So let's practice. If ray BD bisects angle ABC, and the measure of angle ABC is 110 degrees, we need to find the measure of angle ABD and the measure of angle DBC. Well, first, let's establish what we know. We know that BD cuts the whole thing in half, which means that the measure of angle ABD is equal to the measure of angle DBC. How do we know that? Because when something's cut in half, you end up with two equal halves. So you have two equal angles here. We also know that the measure of angle ABC equals 110 degrees. So you could do some mental math here and know, oh, if it bisects it, then I know that the measure of angle ABD is going to be 110 divided by 2. ABD is just one of the small angles. I'm just solving for one right now. And that's going to equal 55 degrees. And since I know it got bisected, that means I have two equal halves, which means that the measure of angle DBC is also 55 degrees. So that's what happens when you bisect an angle. Let's do some practice. Ray HK bisects GHJ. Find the measure of angle GHK and the measure of angle KHJ. So let's look at what it gives us and what it's asking for us to do. So remember I told you in the last chapter that this little line is showing you that the whole thing is 52 degrees. It gives you a line and an angle measurement next to it. If they didn't have any angle measurement next to it, then you could assume that it would only be in the spot that it's labeled. But with that little line, you know that this whole angle is 52 degrees. And HK is cutting it in half. So we know the measure of angle GHJ, G to H to J, is going to be 52 degrees. And we know that the other ones are half. So you know the measure of angle GHK is half of 52. So 52 divided by 2, which equals 26 degrees. We also know that the measure of angle KHJ, that one right there, would also be half of it. So that would also be 26 degrees. We're just cutting stuff in half right now. Alright, this one doesn't give us a number, but it does give us that little corner. And the little corner tells us that the measure of angle GHJ is 90 degrees. So what does that mean about the other ones? Well, the measure of angle GHK, one of the halves, is going to be 45 degrees because that's half of 90. The measure of angle KHJ would be the same, 45 degrees. I went a little faster that time. How did I go from 90 to 45? 90 over 2. Because we were cutting that guy in half, because HK is a bisector. Bisector. All right, finally, JHG, see how they give us the loop and then the measurement, that means that the whole thing, the measure of angle, JHG, is 161 degrees. And we know that HK is bisecting it. It's going right through the middle. So what does that mean the measure of angle JHK is? It would be 161 divided by 2. Now this doesn't come out evenly, and that's okay. You can have a decimal. 161 divided by 2 is going to be 80.5 degrees. And we know that if one half is 80.5, then the other one is going to be as well. Measure of angle KHG is 80.5 degrees.